Forget New Year, New You. This season is about slowing down, locking the doors, and cozying up at home with the one you really want to do nothing with. Your dog. After the holiday chaos, those quiet nights with a blanket, a podcast, and your pup feel like the reset you actually need. Ollie helps make those moments easier with fresh protein-packed meals made from real human-grade ingredients, so your dog can enjoy some quality comfort food too. Choose from 5 recipes and get a personalized plan for your dog's needs. Meals arrive perfectly proportioned with a scoop and storage container, so serving is fast and mess-free. And with Ollie's in-app on-demand health screenings, supporting your dog is easy, ensuring more cuddles for many years to come. Visit ollie.com/truecrime and use code TRUECRIME for 60% off your first box.
On January 13th, 2010, a Rockdale County Sheriff's deputy had just finished serving civil documents to a home in an affluent subdivision in Conyers, Georgia, when suddenly a teenage girl flew out of nowhere to flag him down. The girl looked distraught as she ran towards the deputy and banged her fists on the car to get his attention. He rolled down the window and the girl screamed that her mother was dead. The girl told the officer that she and her twin sister had returned home from school that afternoon and found their mother unresponsive. She led the officer to the house, just a few yards away, and as soon as he entered, the deputy saw signs of a violent attack. Blood was splattered in the living room. A red vase was in pieces on the floor. A chair was overturned, and the house's wall-to-wall beige carpeting had bloody drag marks leading to the master bedroom suite. In the master bathroom, 34-year-old Nikki Whitehead, still in her pink nightgown, was found dead in the bathtub. Nikki's 2 16-year-old daughters, Tasmia and Jasmia Whitehead, known by friends and family as Jazz and Taz, were hysterical. They were crying and screaming, and one of the twins had thrown up in the kitchen after seeing her mother lying in the fetal position in the bath's now cold water. The house was quickly sealed off as a crime scene, and the grieving girls were taken to the Rockland County Sheriff's Office to be questioned. At the police station, Tasmia rocked back and forth in her chair and told police she didn't want to be left alone in the conference room. Jasmia, distinguishable from her twin sister by a large brown mole on her face, wailed and moaned, calling out repeatedly for her mother and grandmother. Tasmia asked her sister if she wanted to pray, but Jasmia said no, she just wanted her grandma. The girls sat alone in the conference room for a few minutes while police came in and out.
I want to pray. I want to pray. Pray. My grandma. My mama.
You want something to drink? What you like to drink? Water or Coke or something?
Water. Grandma. Be okay. Grandma. Be okay. No, it's not. He's not going to come back. Always a thing after another. One thing after another. No, nothing's ever okay.
She's not going to come back, Jasmia said. It's just one thing after another. Nothing is ever okay. Tasmia tried to console her sister. She told her to be strong so that the police can catch whoever killed their mother. Jasmia responded that she didn't want to be strong. She just wanted her mom back. At the police station, officers asked the girls to describe the last 24 hours, hoping that one detail would point towards a suspect or someone who might know something about Nikki's murder. The girls told officers that their mother had been out clubbing the night before she was killed. They said that before she had gone out for the night, they heard her arguing on her cell phone with someone. Their mother had sounded drunk the night before, the girl said, which wasn't unusual because Nikki liked to party. When she'd come home around 11 p.m. that night, Tasmia said she had a bottle of wine in her hand and smelled like marijuana. Tasmia told police that she put her mother to bed and then went to bed herself. She was annoyed by how late it was and how loud her mother was talking on the phone because she and her sister had to get up early for school the next morning. When she and her sister woke at 6:45 to get ready for school, Tasmia said she did her hair in her own bathroom, and once she was ready, she knocked on their mother's door to say goodbye. The door was locked from the inside, and when Nikki didn't respond, they assumed she was sleeping off a late night or a hangover and left for school. They told police it was a completely normal day until they arrived home from school later that afternoon. They said they were dropped off by the school bus around 3:30. Jasmia noticed that the back gate of the house was unlocked, which was strange, she thought, since it was only open when someone was taking out the trash. When she walked into the house, she said she went into the kitchen first and put her purse and drink on the counter.
Can you tell me what happened when you got home? Did y'all walk in the house together? You walked in first, went your way, and then you went a second way?
I had the key first.
Okay, you had the key.
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to the kitchen and put my purse and my drink down. And we don't talk. Like, when we come in the house, we all just go our separate ways. So I didn't even look toward, I don't even sit in the living room. I don't watch TV in there or nothing. I looked that way and I was like, my light on. And then went that way, I just heard Jess. So I went in the room.
Okay. And you walked in and what happened?
I went to the kitchen and put my stuff down. And I went to her room. And I seen the blood all in there on the floor. And I went in there and I seen her and I touched her.
Where room was she in?
In her room.
In her room? Was she on the floor, on the bed?
She was in the bathtub.
In the bathtub?
She said she saw her mother in the bathtub and screamed. Today's episode focuses on an investigation into the murder of a 34-year-old mother of two. With plenty of suspects, it would be a sizable investigation, but would the evidence lead back to the killer? This is Jillian, and you are listening to Court Junkie, episode 94. Following criminal trials and court cases is definitely my passion, but whenever I need a break, my go-to refresher is now this game called Best Fiends. Best Fiends is a puzzle game that you can play right on your phone, where you go through levels and solve challenging puzzles that are not only fun, but they actually engage your brain. It's a casual game that anyone can play, but it's made for adults. So I'm currently on level 85, which is kind of amazing considering I have this now weekly podcast and a needy toddler at home. But I like to play whenever there's downtime or whenever I just need a break from the outside world. There's no pressure. You can spend as much or as little time as you'd like in the game. And one other cool thing about it is that you don't need Wi-Fi to play it. So it's great for when you're without the internet, like when you're traveling. The game itself is visually stimulating with its bright colors and fun characters. And Best Fiends updates the game monthly with new levels and events so it never gets old. Engage your brain with fun puzzles and collect tons of cute characters too. Trust me, with over 100 million downloads, this 5-star rated mobile puzzle game is a must play. Download Best Fiends free on the Apple App Store or Google Play. That's friends without the R. Best Fiends. Have you guys had a chance to check out Spike's Car Radio? If not, you need to check it out and catch up on some of his awesome interviews. In the past few weeks, Spike has talked with Matt Damon and Christian Bale from Ford vs. Ferrari, Kim Coates, and William Fichtner. So head on over to Spike's feed and take a listen. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe to Spike's Car Radio so you can get new episodes every week on Apple Podcasts and Podcast One. Nikki Whitehead was a hairdresser at a salon in Conyers, a suburb 24 miles southeast of Atlanta, Georgia. She was described as a beautiful and stylish young woman who harbored ambitions of becoming a stylist for the stars. She wanted to go to fashion school, and customers at the salon where she worked said she was nice, sweet, and generous. Nikki was well-liked in her community, but by most accounts, she had had a tough start in life. Nikki was born while her mother, Linda Whitehead, was in prison. She was raised for the first 18 months of her life by her grandmother, Della Frazier. Nikki dropped out of school at 16 and lived on the streets until she became pregnant with the twins when she was 18. While she was expecting, she moved back in with her grandmother and lived there until the girls were teenagers. The twins told police their father had been out of the picture for as long as they could remember. He had been in prison, then returned to his native Jamaica before emigrating to Canada a few months before Nikki's murder. Nikki had raised the girls as a single mother while working and helping to support her grandmother at the same time. Nikki had battled with drug addiction and homelessness in her young life, but she had started to build herself a good life, friends said. She had steady work at the hair salon, a thriving social life, and was attending fashion classes at a local college. When the twins were 14 years old, Nikki, then 32, moved in with her boyfriend, Robert Head, a long-distance truck driver nearly twice her age. Robert was in his 50s and lived in a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in a gated community. He gave Nikki free reign of his credit card and bank accounts. He said that Nikki would cook all of his favorite foods when he was home, and they would spend hours just talking with one another. Robert was out of town for weeks at a time working and knew that Nikki had other boyfriends she saw while he was gone, but that was part of their arrangement. As long as other men didn't come to his house, Robert was okay with Nikki seeing other people. As police conducted preliminary interviews with Nikki's family and friends, investigators were combing the scene of the crime for any clues as to who may have killed the mother of two. Back at the house on Appaloosa Way, police found no signs of forced entry. Curiouser still was how an unknown intruder would have gained access to the gated community. The neighborhood was only accessible to people who used a call box to be buzzed in, or those who had a remote to open the gate. From the outside, there was no evidence that anything was amiss. But inside the house was a different story. Blood was found all over the walls leading to the master bedroom and on the sofa. Blood was spattered on the curtains and the entertainment center. Conyers Police Lieutenant Chris Moon said the scene inside the house was the bloodiest he had ever laid eyes on. He could smell the blood the minute he opened the door to the house. The bloodiness of the scene was explained when Georgia Bureau of Investigation's medical examiner, Dr. Jonathan Eisenstadt, delivered Nikki's autopsy report on January 14, 2010. Dr. Eisenstadt said Nikki had been stabbed all over her body. The attack cut her jugular and trachea, and she had suffered a punctured lung. He said she had been stabbed 14 times, mostly at the neck and back, and the wounds had likely been inflicted by a pocket knife or a steak knife. Dr. Eisenstadt told investigators that there was significant bruising on Nikki's wrists, hands, throat, arms, and around both of her eyes. He noted that there were carpet burns on her knees and lacerations on her legs, but no evidence of sexual assault or drugs and alcohol in Nikki's system. Shockingly, he told investigators that most of Nikki's wounds were shallow, except for the injuries to her jugular, trachea, and lungs. He said that Nikki actually wouldn't have died if she had received timely medical treatment. At first, Jasmia told police she thought maybe her mother had been killed in a robbery gone wrong. She said she noticed her mother's purse was gone, as well as one of her own purses and a CD radio from her room. But she said she realized that theory didn't make sense when she saw their TV was still in the living room. With no evidence of a sexual assault or forced entry to the home, police quickly deduced that Nikki's murder had not been random and that it was likely perpetrated by someone she knew intimately. Naturally, suspicion turned to Nikki's boyfriends. One potential lead had come from the twins the day of the murder. They had repeatedly told police their mother had been arguing with a man named Joe Carter the night she was killed. The girls had never met Joe, but they knew their mother was seeing him almost every day and that he was one of her boyfriends.
Does your mom have any other friends or anybody else that come over that you know of?
She talks to a lot of men, but the only one I've been hearing her talk to lately is Joe. That's I keep telling everybody about because they were arguing last night.
Jasmia said she thought Nikki may have broken up with Joe that night because they heard her say, "Well, have a nice life," angrily on the phone.
And it's like they argue a lot because she was like, "Have a nice life, man." Yeah, she said, "Have a nice life," like because Robert be there sometimes. So if she talking to Joe, she'll go in Jazz old room and she'll sit in there and talk to him because it's far away from Robert.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Well, have a nice life, then."
Okay.
And she told him, she was like, "You ain't coming over my house."
When she had that conversation?
Yesterday night, like 12 and 3. And I went in her room, I was like, "Mom, I got to go to school."
She was keeping you up?
Yeah, because she was really loud. Because she talked loud. She was just drunk.
Investigators were able to locate Joe at his local barber shop. But when they asked if he was Joe, he first said no. He asked them why they were looking for him. And when the officers told him that Nikki had been murdered, he began to cry. Joe told them that the last time he had seen Nikki was on January 12th, the day before she died, around 10:30 p.m. He said Nikki had come over to his house after she finished her fashion class at the local college. He was packing boxes at his condo at the time and was preparing to move in with another woman. He said Nikki told him not to move and said she was pregnant. He told police he had asked her if it was a good idea to have the baby because she drank, smoked pot, and occasionally used ecstasy. He suggested she have an abortion, but Nikki got upset and they began to argue. Joe said he suspected that Nikki was just saying she was pregnant to keep him in the relationship. It's worth noting now that the autopsy showed that Nikki was not pregnant at the time of her murder. Joe told police Nikki left his house, but later called him on the phone when she got home. They argued again, and that was the last time they spoke. Joe's alibi for the night and following day was pretty solid. He worked at the barber shop the morning of Nikki's murder, and all of his colleagues vouched for him. When investigators interviewed him, they asked him to undress, and they observed that he had no injuries on his hands, neck, arms, or chest. They suspected that whomever had killed Nikki would have some sort of defensive wounds. Joe told police he had never been to Robert's house before, so they wouldn't find his DNA or fingerprints anywhere on the property. He willingly gave DNA samples anyway, and also offered to submit to a polygraph to prove he was telling the truth. Investigators said they pulled Joe's cell phone records, which showed that he was nowhere near Conyers at the time of Nikki's murder, and he also passed a polygraph test, leading police to believe that he was telling the truth. They also never matched his DNA to DNA found at the crime scene. Joe was in the clear, but he did give police a few little nuggets of interesting information. He said his and Nikki's relationship would occasionally devolve into angry fights that led to physical altercations. He told police that Nikki had once thrown a pair of scissors at him, which stabbed his arm. He went to see a doctor, but never filed a police report. On another occasion, a few months before her murder, he said Nikki threw a cigar at him and tried to hit him after she became jealous because he had another girlfriend. Investigators moved on to investigating Robert Head, Nikki's boyfriend and owner of the house where the Whitehead family lived. The twins told police that Robert was Nikki's sugar daddy. Robert worked as a long-haul truck driver, and they said he had left for work the morning before the murder. Robert's company verified that he had been driving across the country when Nikki was killed and produced records that definitively proved he was out of state at the time. While Nikki had access to Robert's bank accounts, police found that Robert had no access to Nikki's money and didn't have a life insurance policy out on her. Not only was his alibi solid, They couldn't come up with a motive for why Robert would have wanted to kill Nikki in the first place. Because of this, Conyers police, as well as the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office, didn't investigate Robert for long, but they did interview him several times, hoping to get some information that would help them crack the case. Robert said he had known Nikki since she was 24 and that they had been involved on and off during that time. He had spotted her at a Macy's in DeKalb County 10 years before her death and bought her an outfit. Later that night, they went out dancing on their first date. Robert told police he had known the twins for years and said they were known to act up when he was out of town. He said he had talked to them about treating their mom better, but the talks didn't seem to work. He then said something that was likely very of interest to investigators. He said the twins were such good liars that they could fake cry with real tears. He told them that, in fact, Nikki was afraid of the twins and would even lock the bedroom door when she was sleeping alone in the house with them. Police searched the house for any signs of a murder weapon. They tested all the knives they found, but none of them tested positive for blood. Days later, they discovered a box cutter in a nearby storm drain that they thought may have been connected to the murder. Investigators used luminol to discover traces of blood invisible to the human eye and found evidence of a brutal struggle all across the house. The luminol picked up small bloody footprints, as well as blood on a comforter in the girls' room and on the master bedroom doorframe. Stranger still, police also found signs that someone had tried to clean up the murder scene. The house's washing machine was full of towels, and it was clear that someone had used bleach to try and clean up blood on the carpet. And perhaps the strangest thing of all, in the girls' room, police discovered 2 pairs of boots with bloodstains on them and a bloody paper towel stuffed in a pair of black sneakers. They also found a metal ribbon dotted with blood under the girls' bed. As news of Nikki's murder spread through Conyers, her friends harbored few doubts about who had killed her, and they made sure to tell police exactly whom they suspected. Sylvia Shields said she had spoken with her longtime friend just days before her murder. She told police that, quote, the girls were always saying how much they hated their mother and wished she was dead. Another friend of Nikki's, Bennett Owen, said the girls had problems following the rules, and at one point she had heard about an incident in which one of the girls had pulled a knife on Nikki. Police also learned more about the girls' home life, and some of the details didn't exactly jive with what the girls were telling them. After Nikki and the girls moved in with Nikki's boyfriend, Robert, trouble reportedly started to brew between the twins and their mother. The girls, once polite, studious, and easygoing Girl Scouts, started acting out. They were frequently skipping school, dating, and spending the night with boyfriends, but also engaging in riskier behaviors like self-harm and experimenting with drugs. Family and friends reported to police that Jasmia and Tesmia had stolen money from their mother's friends and from their great-grandmother Della, who even had to purchase a deadbolt for her bedroom door to prevent the girls from stealing from her. They had also been caught shoplifting from Bloomingdale's and had been reported missing after running away from home for days at a time. The behavior grew more troubling as the girls grew older. By the time they were 14, they had already been involved in several violent domestic disputes where the police ended up getting involved, and they had both been in and out of the local juvenile detention centers. During one incident, students at the twins' school reported a violent fight between the sisters. One witness told police that they saw Jasmia beat her sister in the hallway over money. Another classmate witnessed Tesmia start another fight with Jasmia after her sister refused to share her food. Amanda Carter, who had grown up with the twins, said that they were very close, and even when they were mad at each other, they would cover for one another at all costs. She said that Tasmiyah had a very bad temper and would often become angry at small issues. Witnesses said this behavior did not fly with Nikki, and the twins were often in trouble and grounded for breaking her rules. But the tough love approach only seemed to make the girls' problems with authority even worse. In October 2008, police were called to the girls' great-grandmother's house after she reported that Tasmiyah had threatened Jasmiyah with a kitchen knife. Afterwards, police said Tasmiyah locked herself in the bathroom and refused to come out. The great-grandmother told police that Tasmiyah had been very depressed lately and asked where she could get help. After this incident, Tasmiyah was admitted to a local children's hospital for treatment. That same year, the twins were charged with battery after getting into a violent fight with their mother. Nikki had called the Conyers police saying that the girls were attacking her. When police arrived on the scene, they discovered that Nikki was covered in red scratches and bruises. The girls, police noted, did not appear injured at all. Nikki told them that she and the girls were arguing over cell phone usage when they jumped her and dragged her across the floor of the house. Police said that after that incident, the girls went to live in Clarkston, Georgia, with their great-grandmother, Della. The girls preferred living with her because they were very close. Della and Nikki didn't get along at all, which made their living situation all the more appealing. As part of the deal, a judge ordered Nikki and the girls to regularly attend family counseling. But Sonia Morin, a juvenile justice probation officer, said that the family dynamic did not seem to improve with the counseling sessions, and the efforts to address the underlying issues quickly came to an end. Even with the change in living situation, the girls quickly went back to their old habits, violating their probation by skipping school and flouting their great-grandmother's house rules. A mother of one of the twins' friends, Calandra Venson, told police that their home life was pretty bad. She said Tasmiyah had been listed as a runaway and had often stayed at their home for some stability. It wasn't just the twins' behavior that flared the familial tensions. Nikki's partying and attitude caused problems, the girls told police. Nikki had used drugs in the past and would drink and socialize in her free time. The girls were very vocal that they felt that she was an unfit mother. Other family members said Della encouraged this opinion of Nikki and fed the girls lies about their mother to exacerbate the problem. During one court appearance, Nikki was held in contempt of court for swearing at the girls and at her grandmother, and even accused her grandmother of using the twins for her own financial gain. In December 2009, about a month prior to the murder, the troubled relationship came to a dramatic head. The girls were brought back to juvenile court once again for running away and skipping school, and a judge granted Nikki full custody again because living with Della was clearly not helping to keep them on the straight and narrow. Robert Head had told police that Nikki wanted full custody of the girls because she was their mother and didn't want to let them go, even if they had a troubled relationship. The family agreed that the twins would try living with their mother and Robert for 2 weeks to see how they liked it. At the end of that period, if they still wanted to go live with their great-grandmother, they were free to go back. The twins were reportedly devastated by this news. At the close of that court hearing, chaos broke out in the hallway with family members fighting and screaming. Linda Whitehead, Nikki's mother, said she heard one of the twins say, quote, "If I have to go back with you, I will kill you." Now, everything you thought you knew is ancient history. Introducing Smithsonian Channel Plus, a new streaming service that presents history, mystery, science, and pop culture in a whole new light. From the rise and fall of the Roman Empire to the demise of the Titanic, from epic air disasters to the secrets behind King Tut's tomb, Smithsonian Channel Plus brings authentic original programming reviewed and fact-checked for accuracy by the experts at the Smithsonian Institution, which is pretty awesome. With so much misinformation out there nowadays, it's nice to know that what's being put out there is being vigorously reviewed. New programs are added weekly to watch anytime, anywhere. My husband and I watched Aerial America the other day, which offers rare glimpses of America's most treasured landmarks seen from breathtaking heights. And just as I thought it would be, it was pretty cool. Visit getscplus.com/courtjunkie to redeem this special offer. 50% off your first 3 months of Smithsonian Channel Plus. That's getscplus.com/courtjunkie to get 50% off your first 3 months. Check out Smithsonian Channel Plus today. When I talk about Stamps.com, I always wonder who in the world still goes to the post office and why. Stamps.com brings the post office right to you. No need to interrupt your workday to fight traffic to get there, especially now during the holidays when it's extra busy with people sending out their holiday cards and gifts. Stamps.com brings all the services of the U.S. Postal Service right to your computer. Whether you're a small office sending out invoices, an online seller shipping out products, or even a warehouse sending thousands of packages a day, Stamps.com can handle it all with ease. Not to mention, you can save money with discounts that you cannot even get at the post office. You get 5 cents off every first-class stamp and up to 40% off priority mail. Stamps.com is a no-brainer, saving you time and money. It's no wonder over 700,000 small businesses already use Stamps.com. Don't spend a minute of your holiday season at the post office this year. Sign up for Stamps.com instead. There's no risk, and with my promo code, COURT, you get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in COURT. That's Stamps.com, enter code COURT. Stamps.com. Never go to the post office again. One of Nikki's closest friends, Yaka Harris, told police in an interview that her friend's relationship with the girls had been very unstable, especially in the days before the murder. Yaka described Nikki as a generous and often magnanimous woman who would support anyone in her life. She said her friend's generosity was often taken advantage of, especially by her own grandmother, Della Frazier. Yaka said Nikki was delighted to be getting her girls back and went into nesting mode, getting the house ready for the 2 teenagers. She bought them new shoes and jewelry, and Robert had even painted the girls' room. The girls returned to Nikki and Robert's home on Appaloosa Way on January 6th, just a week before the murder. And to celebrate their homecoming, Nikki threw a party for the family. At the party, which witnesses described as tense and angry, Yaka said Jasmia ignored her mother and the guests, while Tasmia was refusing to eat. Yaka told police that Nikki was always trying to genuinely engage with the girls, even when the twins didn't want to participate. She had even spent $500 throwing them a Sweet 16 party that Tasmia completely blew off because she just didn't want to go. Yaka described how Nikki had become afraid of the girls before her murder and had even said something rather peculiar while on a phone call the Saturday before her death.
She talked to me and she was just saying, Yaka, it's going down. And I said, what do you mean by that? She was like, I'm just telling you, if anything happens to you, girl. She was like, kids did. And I was like, well, Nikki, we're not going to talk like that.
It's going down, Nikki had told her. If anything happens to your girl, the kids did it. Another telling interview came from Nikki's mother, Linda Whitehead. Nikki and Linda hadn't always been close, but Robert had encouraged them to patch up their own difficult relationship. Linda was at Nikki's side while she fought to get custody back of her girls and to get them back on track. While other friends of Nikki's had hinted at their friend's fraught relationship with her grandmother, Linda came right out with it and said that Della Frazier used Nikki for financial gain and actively pitted the girls against their mother. She said Della had been taking advantage of Nikki since she was a teenager and relied on her for money to pay the bills. When Nikki gave birth to the twins, it got even worse. In her interview with Conyers police, Linda said that Nikki's relationship with the girls was, quote, volatile, very volatile. She described situations where the girls refused to come out of their rooms or refused to get up in the morning, and how these acts of disobedience would then escalate into fights. After the court ordered Tasmiyah and Jasmiyah to comply with their mother's rules, Linda said the girls openly ignored Nikki and got into huge fights about small things, like keeping their bedrooms tidy or getting up on time for school. Linda told police it was clear Nikki had her hands full with the girls. The Whiteheads' chaotic and violent family dynamic was no secret, but the girls tried to cover it up as much as possible when talking with police. They both told officers that although they had not gotten along in the past, they had really started to be a family again in the days before the murder. Jasmiyah even told police the night before Nikki died they had all been laughing together and having a good time. When investigators asked the girls why they hadn't gotten along with Nikki, Jasmiyah said that they had disagreements about household chores and that the girls did not want to be in the house when their mother was drunk or high. I told her I hated her and stuff, but I never wanted her to die, Jasmiyah says tearfully at one point.
And then we tell me you hate her and stuff when she was dead and she really did die. I mean, I told her that plenty of times and she never died.
As the weeks and months passed and police continued to investigate Nikki's murder, evidence against the twins continued to build. The day of Nikki's murder, police photographed injuries on both Tasmiyah and Jasmiyah. Both of them had injuries to their hands and arms. Tasmiyah had a bruise on her left hand, a cut on her left ring finger, and bite marks on her arms and wrists. Jasmiyah had similar injuries and even more scrapes and scratches. The girls had tried to cover up the marks, police said, by wearing long-sleeved shirts and gloves to the police station. Sure enough, in the interrogation video, both girls are fully covered, including gloves on their hands. And when police asked where the bite marks on their arms had come from, they both said they had the nervous habit of chewing on their arms when they were stressed. Friends and family would later tell police that they had never seen either girl chew on their arm, raising a red flag for police about where those injuries really came from. And then there was the matter of the conflicting statements that the girls had given to police after the murder. Many things just weren't adding up. To begin with, the girls told police they had made it on time for school that morning, despite having missed their bus. This was a detail that came out when Jasmiyah said that if they had just stayed home after missing their bus that morning, that maybe this wouldn't have happened.
What if we were there when it happened?
Well, you never know what would have happened.
No, because we missed the school bus. We should have just stayed at home.
So you all missed the bus this morning?
We had to walk.
But even though the girls had said they still arrived to school on time, video footage from the high school showed them arriving on campus around 10:15 a.m., 3 hours after they told police they had left the house. School administrators confirmed that the girls had skipped their first 2 classes of the day, which wasn't unusual because they were frequently absent. But classmates told police they had noticed that the girls had marks on their arms the day of Nikki's murder and were noticeably more withdrawn than usual. Sameka Brown said that she'd heard the twins talking about a violent attack that day. She said she heard the girls say something about their mother being stabbed in the bathtub and that they had gone to school afterwards. The investigators' new timeline of the twins' movements left a 3-hour gap between when the girls said they left for school and when they actually did. What exactly had the twins been up to? Even more damning evidence against them was the DNA evidence. After Nikki's murder, police had taken urine samples, DNA swabs, and toenail clippings from the twins, and even retrieved their dental records in an effort to identify where the bite marks on Nikki and the girls had come from. Investigators were able to identify that the bite marks on the girls were from Nikki, indicating that a struggle had taken place that morning. In addition, the girls' DNA was found on a broken vase in the living room and mixed in with Nikki's blood all over the house. By this time, the girls had lawyered up, and although they were still cooperating with search warrants and when they had to, they were no longer speaking with investigators. Here's a conversation one investigator had with the girls' great-grandmother right after obtaining blood samples, oral swabs, and footprint measurements from Jasmia.
Hey, Jazz and Della, because your attorney has said that he doesn't wish for you to answer questions about the kind of, I can't initiate contact with y'all anymore for questions. I can for certain things, but not for questions. But if y'all, and that doesn't pertain to you, that pertains to her. I mean, I can call you, but if they think of something they think I need to know, they can always contact me. It's only that I can't ask them questions. They can come to me and say, hey, you know what, we just remembered that so-and-so might have did this, or, you know, whatever. So they can contact me.
Okay.
And you got my card if they need to. Okay.
I do. Okay.
What's also interesting about this video of the girls giving their blood samples is that Tasmia is visibly laughing and joking with investigators. At one point, she looks at her blood vial and remarks that she has never seen blood like that before, saying that it's all bubbly. Her great-grandmother then brings up CSI Miami, and they all start talking about how evidence collection works. Tasmia then tells the story of how in one episode, the suspect had gunshot residue on him days later.
They always say gunpowder residue, like they say like it stay on you like forever or something like that. You know?
Not stay on you forever.
I was watching an episode and they had gunpowder residue and it was like days later. I was like, you didn't take a bath? Like you been trying to get and wash it off.
It's kind of difficult to hear, but Tasmia said, I was like, you didn't take a bath? You're just trying to get caught. 4 months after the murder, the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office, along with Conyers Police Department, drew up arrest warrants charging the twins with felony murder and aggravated assault. They were arrested on May 21st, 2010, in different locations. Tasmia was arrested in Tucker, Georgia, at the home of a relative she had been staying with, and Jasmia was arrested at her high school. According to police records of the incident, Jasmia was in class when police arrived at the school. She was escorted by a school resource officer to an empty conference room. Investigators would later say that as she walked towards the glass-walled conference room, they could see that she was smiling, but once she saw the officers, her face went blank. Police informed Jasmia that she was under arrest for the murder of her mother, and they immediately tried to handcuff her. They said she put up a fight and resisted, saying over and over again, quote, "You can't do this. You can't do this." The officers eventually were able to handcuff her, but as they tried to walk her out of the room, she refused to move and told police to stop talking to her. The girls were both eventually taken to the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office for booking, but were separated and sent to different juvenile detention centers because investigators didn't want them to compare notes before their highly anticipated court appearances. Due to the brutal nature of Nikki's murder, the Rockdale County District Attorney's Office decided to try Tasmia and Jasmia as adults, instead of as juveniles. The news of their arrests earned the girls the nickname the Twisted Twins, as local and national media flocked to cover the case. The twins faced a life sentence without parole for their mother's murder, but were exempt from the death penalty because Georgia law prohibits capital punishment for juvenile offenders. Jasmia's attorney, Dwight Thomas, a well-known Atlanta attorney who has represented the rapper T.I., requested that she be granted bond between $100,000 and $500,000. He requested that she be allowed to live with her great-grandmother while awaiting trial. But Judge David Irwin refused to set bail for either of the girls. Thomas argued that most of the evidence pointing towards the twins was circumstantial and said a jury would find his client totally innocent of any involvement in Nikki's murder. In an article published in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Thomas said, quote, "Based on what the district attorney has provided to the court, this is a completely circumstantial case. They're the ones who found her, who flagged a police officer down to report it, and they didn't run." The twins were held for 4 years while they waited for their case to go to trial, and their supporters argued that they were being unfairly held with no trial in sight and should be released on bond. A Change.org petition to free the girls was created by a friend who said that the evidence was inconsistent and the investigation relied on a lot of hearsay from Nikki's friends. She also said that the girls likely wouldn't be receiving a fair trial because a jury of Rockdale County residents would be predominantly white. The petition was signed by about 50 people and didn't lead to any legal changes, but it did hint at bigger problems concerning the case. The twins were finally indicted by a grand jury in early 2011, but the case hit a snag when Jasmia's lawyer filed a motion challenging the jury selection process. He claimed in the motion that the grand jury and trial jury underrepresented the demographics of Rockdale County and wouldn't be fair to his client. Once a representative jury was worked out, the twins were reindicted on the charges in August 2011, about 20 months after Nikki's murder. Both girls pleaded not guilty in September 2011. The plan was for them to face trial together for Nikki's murder, but before proceedings would begin, Tasmia made a startling confession that would change the entire course of the case and would finally shed light on what exactly happened to Nikki. In January 2014, 4 years after the murder, Tasmia told police and the Rockdale County District Attorney, Richard Reed, what really happened the morning of January 13th, 2010. She and her sister had woken up late, she said. They got up and went to the kitchen where their mother was already awake and waiting for them. She said their mother was mad that they had slept late and missed the bus. The three began arguing, and Nikki waved a pot around in the general direction of the girls. They tried to wrestle the pot away from her, and a full physical fight broke out. Tasmia said Nikki grabbed a knife from the kitchen counter and told the girls not to come any closer. Tasmia told investigators, quote, "I had taken the pot from her. That's when she grabbed the knife and said, 'Get back,' but she didn't keep the knife in her hand. So my mom is winning the battle with the knife or whatever, so I pick up the pot and hit her with the pot." The fight then moved from the kitchen to the living room and got increasingly more violent, Tasmia said. Jasmia broke a vase over Nikki's head, and Nikki was biting, slapping, and scratching the girls. Punches were flying. At one point, Tasmia grabbed the steak knife her mother had been holding and stabbed her. Tasmia told police that her sister then started to choke Nikki with a ribbon attached to a medal and also used the knife to stab her. When the fight was over, Tasmia said, they dragged their mother to the bathroom and left for school. After her confession, Tasmia agreed to plead guilty to involuntary manslaughter in exchange for a lesser sentence. She was sentenced to 30 years in prison. At her sentencing, Tasmia didn't offer any comments, but her grandmother, Linda Whitehead, spoke to the court through tears. She said it was a tragic day and mourned the fact that her daughter Nikki wasn't there to tell her story. Quote, "I am a broken mother and I am a broken grandmother. This has been an unimaginable situation to be in. There are no winners here today. At the time of Tasmia's confession and sentencing, Jasmia was scheduled to go to trial in March 2014. But in February, she followed her sister's footsteps and pleaded guilty to lesser charges. Jasmia's recollections of what happened the day of Nikki's murder aligned perfectly with Tasmia's confession. She too described the violent kitchen brawl that turned deadly. She said that morning her state of mind was to defend herself. She said, quote, "It wasn't like a fight on the street. It was more like a fight until somebody dies." She told investigators that as they dragged Nikki to the bathroom, her mother said she hated them and that they were going to jail. But she said that killing their mom wasn't something they wanted to do. And afterwards, she said they talked to her for a while. Quote, "I mean, you can't talk to a dead person, but we just said that we were sorry and we loved her and stuff because I did love my mama." She said if she could do it all over again, she guesses she would have called the police. She said she would definitely give her life for her mom's. At her sentencing, Jasmia addressed the court and showed remorse for what she and her sister had done. In a statement, she apologized, saying, quote, "I just want to say I'm sorry this happened and all the pain that it caused my family, my sister, our friends, and most importantly, my mom. I'm sorry for everything and I take full responsibility for my actions. I want to thank y'all for the mercy and leniency in my sentencing. This is not where I want to be. I wanted to contribute. I'm sorry for everything." She too was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Following their sentencings, the twins were incarcerated at different Georgia prisons. Tasmia at Pulaski State Prison and Jasmia at Arendelle State Prison, where they have both completed high school and enrolled in higher education courses. As for Nikki's friends and family, they commemorate her birthday and Mother's Day every year by posting in a Facebook group dedicated to her memory. Pictures of Nikki, along with her girls, accompany the words, "Loving and missing you." And that's all for today's episode. As always, I'd love to know what you think about this case. Do you think a jury could have acquitted the twins, or were they wise to take a plea deal? You can let me know by joining our discussion on Instagram @CourtJunkie, by tweeting me @CourtJunkiePod, or by emailing me at podcast@courtjunkie.com. This episode was researched and written by Kathleen McWilliams. And lastly, I just wanted to give you all an update on my holiday schedule. Court Junkie will be releasing its last episode of the year on December 9th, 2019, and will return on January 6th, 2020. So there will be 3 Mondays in there with no new regular episodes. However, I will be releasing a bonus episode on Patreon for the $6 and $10 tiers, as well as some additional content at the $10 level. To check all that out, just go to courtjunkie.com/support, and that will take you to my Patreon page. Thanks everyone for listening. Until next time.